All right, very good. Welcome to the December 21st school board meeting of the Council Rocks Board of School Directors. This meeting is being televised and recorded. This evening, we're going to open up with the Rolling Hills Elementary School Rock Stars, led by Miss Sarah. And initially, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd all rise and remain standing for the national anthem. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Sarah Gannon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see Isla's early light? Oh, so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight from the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red flared, the boats bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
My Shot is the third song from Act 1 of the musical Hamilton, based on the life of Alexander Hamilton, which premiered on Broadway in 2015. We dedicate this piece to all in our school community who have demonstrated that commitment, diligence, and persistence are the key to establishing and accomplishing goals in life. With gratitude, we thank all in the Council Rock school community for advocating to keep Rolling Hills open and not throwing away our shot. We feature rappers Braden Bookman, Delilah Figueroa, Merrick Kenny, and Kaylin Cotter.
We'd like to applaud our school community and our school board for keeping Rolling Hills open. Thank you. With gratitude.
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, I'm just on my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot.
I'ma get a scholarship to King's College. I probably shouldn't brag, but I got amazed and astonished. Problem is, I got a lot of brains with no polish. I gotta holler just to be heard with every word I drop. Now I'm a diamond in the rough, a shiny piece of coal, trying to reach my goal. My power of speech unimpeachable. My plan is to fan this spark into a flame. My name is Caden Dawson. Let me spell out the name.
I am the ALEXANDER. We are meant to be a colony that runs independently. So there will be a revolution in the century. I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. Everybody say, whoa, 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 whoa. brother that he's gotta rise up. Tell your sister that she's gotta rise up. When are these colonies gonna rise up? 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 Rise up! I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, oh, just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, I'm just like my country, I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. We gotta rise up and time to take a shot. We gotta rise up, time to take a shot. Rise up, time to take a shot. Time to take a shot, time to take a shot. And I am not throwing away my shot, throwing away my shot.
I have got to say, that was amazing. I feel like I'm on Broadway. No kidding. I see that, Miss Sarah. I see that. Wonderful, wonderful job. Thank you all so very much.
Great.
Very energizing.
Just wait for them.
You saw it first.
Very good. At this point, we're going to take a little departure from our normal process. I'm going to ask, who cannot possibly have as much energy as those students, Board Solicitor Mr. Cox, to explain some of the things that have been going on. As you know, at our last meeting, we only impaneled 8 board members because it was an issue before the courts, and Mr. Cox is going to give us an update on that this evening. Mr. Cox.
Yes, Mr. Grupp, when the board reorganized in early December, the Board of Elections for Bucks County had not yet certified a winner with respect to the election from Region 3. There had been an initial court proceeding regarding the original vote count. As a result of that initial court proceeding, the 2 candidates, Ms. Brooks and Mr. Hickey, were in a dead tie. The Board of Elections then oversaw a process by which the candidates cast lots. In that proceeding, Ms. Brooks prevailed. And then there was a second court proceeding, which led to a court-ordered recanvass of the ballots cast for the board director seat in Region 3. Following that recount, which occurred yesterday, December 20th, Ms. Brooks was certified as the winner. Ms. Brooks then received her certificate of election from the Board of Elections, took the oath in my presence yesterday, and so the board has its 9th member. My understanding is that Ms. Brooks is attending by phone tonight, as she's allowed to do under board policy, and so the school board has 9 members.
Mrs. Rice, if you would do me a favor, please, and could you, just so we have it on record, read the certificate to the word of Mrs. Brooks yesterday?
Sure. We, the undersigned members of the County Board of Elections of said county, hereby certify that after tabulating the votes cast at the municipal election held on the 7th day of November 2017, Denise Brooks was duly elected to the office of School Director of Council Rock School District, Region 3, for a 4-year term.
Very good. So congratulations to Mrs. Brooks, and welcome to the board for 4 additional years. Very good. Thank you. At that point, Mrs. Rice, if you would please call the roll, including
Mark Bialik,
Mr. Bialik is traveling with his family.
Kyle McKessie. Here. Edward Tate.
Here.
Wendy Thomas.
Here.
Michael Thorwart.
Here.
Jerry Grupp.
Present.
Mary Ann McKee.
Here.
Denise Brooks.
Here.
Andy Block.
Here. Very good. At this point, I'm going to turn it over for a few moments to Mrs. McCarthy from Council Rock North to introduce the Student Advisory Board and tell us what's going on at Council Rock North.
Hey, good evening, everyone. We're happy to be back this evening. I'm also extremely happy to introduce you to our new Middle Bucks Institute of Technology representative, Angela Batchelor. She will be followed by Baruni Polyam, Beta Alam, Jake Cohen, and Finn Thompson. Angela, take it away.
Hello, my name is Angela Batchelor, and I am a junior at Council Rock North High School. I am also a student in the Commercial Art and Design program at Middle Bucks Institute of Technology. MBIT's annual open house is scheduled for Thursday, January 4th from 7 to 9 p.m. A snow date has been scheduled for Thursday, January 11th. A new opportunity for this year will be an information session for interested students and parents to meet with school counselors on that day. Students, parents, and community members are all invited to come and explore MBIT's 22 career and technical programs. This is a great opportunity to engage in hands-on activities that highlight skills taught in each of our programs. MBIT had over 34 students participate in the 2017 Skills USA District 2 Leadership Conference in November. Skills USA is the national organization for students in trade, industrial, and technical education. In addition to the knowledge and skills gained during the conference, students had the opportunity to participate in competitions focusing on leadership and school spirit. Middle Bucks Institute of Technology was delighted to bring home gold and silver medals in the public speaking competitions. Central Bucks Chamber of Commerce recognized 5 MBIT students with the Young Citizens Award at a recent luncheon. These students were nominated by the community for their acts of service, character, skills, and courage. The students in our early child care and education program are collecting new pajamas and books to donate to Bucks County children and youth. The students in our public safety program partnered with Warwick Township Police to collect food goods for families in need in the Pack a Police Car fundraiser. The public safety students collected 16 boxes of food for the event. The Medical and Healthcare Professional Program offers students 2 unique clinical experiences. Level 200 students complete a shadowing rotation at Abington Memorial Hospital, where they observe in the emergency, pediatrics, surgical, and maternity departments. The Level 300 students complete the nurse aide certification at Neshaminy Manor. Our students are currently going to Neshaminy Manor every Tuesday and Thursday for clinical training. Both of these opportunities help students learn more about healthcare careers and provide real-world experiences. I would like to remind the community that they can learn more about the latest happenings at MBIT by liking us on Facebook and following us on Instagram and Twitter. On behalf of the students and staff at Middle Bucks Institute of Technology, we would like to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. I look forward to reporting to you at the next school board meeting. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Bernie Polyam, and I'm the 9th grade representative of Council Rock North Student Advisory Board. As you all heard from the last time I was here, Council Rock North is always booming with new activities and events that always keep the students and staff engaged. Recently, our school held a fall festival that was a big hit among the students. It was comprised of several tables from different clubs at Council Rock North that sold everything from apparel to food. Our 9th grade class officers even had a booth where students could use a golf club to putt a ping pong ball into a pumpkin for a prize. Our 9th grade class officers also created a video sharing what they were grateful for in order to promote thankfulness for Thanksgiving and also successfully helped with setup for our fall dance, another very popular event at Council Rock North. While our class has been busy with events, there have also been some big things happening in our sports programs. Amelia Honor was featured in an article in the Bucks County Courier-Times recording her unforgettable freshman year season of tennis. She took the league singles title, finished third in the PIAA District 1 Class 3A singles tournament, and fourth in the state Class AAA singles tournament, earning herself the Courier-Times Girls Tennis Player of the Year for 2017. In cross country, Council Rock North says a big congratulations to Coach Dave Merrington for being presented the prestigious award PTFCA All-State Cross Country Coach of the Year for the second year in a row. In boys varsity basketball, the team is 1-2 on the young season and picked up their first win on Saturday at Upper Dublin. The women's basketball team is 2-1 with league play starting this week as they prepare for their national invitation-only holiday shootout tournament in Naples, Florida, where they will compete with some of the best teams in the country. The North boys swimming and diving team had a quick start to the season with 15 automatic district qualifying times and 5 district consideration times, and the boys are looking forward to the National Conference dual meets, which start after the winter break. The girls swim team is currently 2-1, with a handful of swimmers already qualifying for the District 1 swim meet in March. While news is big in sports right now, the fantastic music program at Council Rock North has also put on a series of wonderful performances from their choir, orchestra, and band. North Choirs has performed at St. Mary's Hospital, Longwood Gardens, and several other locations, and while the main choir concert was postponed last Friday due to snow, it was rescheduled for Monday and was a success. Our North Voice has also accomplished some big things, as it was once again a semifinalist in the More 101 FM Christmas Choir competition and became a finalist for the 3rd time. Many members of band, orchestra, and choir have auditioned for county and district festivals for which they will be participating in the spring. Council Rock North has been extremely busy for the last 2 months and has surely ended the year with some amazing events. We will be back in the new year to share even more exciting concerts and events that Council Rock North has planned for its students and staff, as well as some more amazing records broken by our competitive sports teams. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Veda Alam, and I'm the Class of 2020 representative. I can hardly believe that winter break is only one day away. As much as I am in awe of the fact, I'm also glad. Today, I will talk about the sophomore class and some of our clubs, which will include the activities of the Diversity Advisory Committee. The class of 2020 started off the year in a very positive manner. Our class officers helped out the junior class with the formal last month. Our class officers are also trying to take some action of their own this year. Moving on to clubs, many of our clubs are back in swing for the year. One club that has done a tremendous amount in just 3 months is our Diversity Advisory Committee, or DAC. DAC has continued with Mythbusters, which began last year. Mythbusters is a creative way to promote the awareness of stereotypes and the effects they have on a person. This way, we are one step closer to celebrating diversity. Also, Veer Sahu, a member of the junior class, prepared and presented a PowerPoint presentation for the staff of Council Rock North. He emphasized Hinduism and Islam in the presentation. This way, the staff members know why students are absent on particular days. The religious awareness was greatly promoted, and the staff was also very pleased with this. Some of our DAC members headed over to the University of Pennsylvania for a conference. They spoke about some of the activities we do at Council Rock North to promote diversity. We also had our first CRN Community Diversity Meeting. This meeting included parents, students, and staff. This way, our whole Council Rock North community is aware of our efforts to spread diversity and spread awareness. DAC's overall goal is for students to look at CRN through the lenses of tolerance and inclusiveness. Through their numerous events, CRN will only improve its No Place for Hate pact. I honestly cannot believe we are in our fourth month of school. Have a great holiday, and we will see you in February.
Good evening, everybody. While school may currently be in a state of frenzy over winter break starting in less than 24 hours, I'm very happy to be here again with you guys this school year. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my class in general and other academic news that has happened over the past few months. First of all, my class of 2019 is already ecstatic for a junior prom, which is going to be on April 20th, 2018, with many students already buying prom dresses and making arrangements on who they're going with. The class officers in my grade have also started to make crucial arrangements, as they've already booked a DJ for the night and established a theme. In more recent news, the fall dance that our junior officers arranged in November turned out to be a huge success, and we had 800 kids attending. We are extremely excited to get into the second half of the school year on such an amazing note. Now to academics. PSAT and NMSQT scores were officially released to student test takers last Tuesday, December 12th, along with thorough details on what errors they made and how they can improve from such errors. With this closure, a lot of we juniors are even more eager to take the SAT or ACT this year, with the new skills that we've been taught. Speaking of standardized testing, winter Keystone retests were held at Council Rock North on the week of December 4th to 8th. On the 4th and 5th, biology and literature keystones were administered. Algebra was held on the 6th and the 7th, and makeups for absent students on the 8th. In the science department, teacher Mr. Price arranged for a local science enthusiast, more commonly known as Jungle Joe, to come educate and entertain honors biology and animal science students at North on several animals and their adaptational skills needed to survive. This was held on November 9th, and the feedback was extremely positive, especially in the context of their respective courses. Last but not least, many seniors who applied for early decision have been finding out lately whether they've been accepted or denied. I've been hearing of many students who have already been accepted to amazing schools to which they are committing, but I would like to acknowledge and congratulate Finn here for getting accepted into Georgetown University. Quite honestly, this amazing accomplishment is not... Quite honestly, this amazing accomplishment does not surprise me given how good of a student he is. But I and the other members of SAB here and SEB are extremely happy for him whether he chooses to commit or not. That is all I have to say tonight, but I hope everybody enjoys their well-deserved winter break and the holidays coming up. Thank you so much, and see you in the new year.
Hey everyone, I'm Finn Thompson and I'm the representative for the senior class. It's good to be back and I wish you all a happy holidays. Since our last board meeting, SEB ran the annual blood drive in early November. Over 50 students donated blood and the event was a major success. The Student Executive Board is busy planning all of its charity events for the school year. On December 13th, SEB and the rest of student government gave Christmas gifts to underprivileged kids in its annual holiday project. Throughout the month of November, SEB's Dollar Days events challenged homerooms to bring in as much money as possible, and we raised more money than ever before. The $3,000 that we raised, plus donations from Walmart, allowed us to spend $75 per child and donate supplies to their school. The event was an incredible success, and there's nothing more rewarding than seeing the faces of the kids as they opened their gifts. On January 31st, SEB will be hosting the annual Council Rock North Talent Show. This year's theme is North's Got Talent, and auditions will take place on Monday, January 8th, and Tuesday, January 9th after school in the auditorium. The event will raise money to fund SEB's major charity events for the rest of the year. After a Think Kindness assembly at the beginning of the month, North and South were challenged to donate as many shoes as possible to donate to children in Africa. The drive was very successful after the hype that the assembly created, and we collected a total of 270 pairs of shoes. SEB organized them today and will ship them to Think Kindness as soon as possible. On April 27th, SEB will host the annual Rockathon charity dance. Given that the event is SEB's most successful each year, we've already begun preparation and chose the charity at the last student government meeting. The Plant a Seed Foundation funds scholarships for low-income students of ages 10 to 18 to pursue their passions. We hope to raise as much money as we can for the event. Yesterday, North hosted an IU Forum meeting, during which subcommittees started to work on public service announcements and projects as a theatrical ensemble played for them. The senior class is also gearing up for Disney, and room assignments were finalized this week. The second payment was made in November, and the third payment is coming up. Overall, SEB and the senior class are hard at work, and I'll update you in the spring. Thank you.
It's always impressive how much work you guys get done. We saw you last in October, and it's just amazing how much has been accomplished. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, SAB. And Finn, congratulations again. Very proud of you.
That will move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Grubb. Good evening, members of the board and members of our community. Let me first say happy winter to everyone, despite the fact that we have already had our first 2-hour delay of the school year. Today, indeed, is the first day of winter. And as Jake reminded us, of course, we are only 1 day away from the beginning of winter break. So we do indeed have a full day of school tomorrow, and then our schools will not reopen again until Tuesday, January 2nd. We certainly wish everyone the best of times with your loved ones over these next several days. Now, once we return from break, we will soon be ready to present a proposed redistricting map. Redistricting has been a major topic of conversation in the school district. So we will soon be ready to do that, although not quite as soon as we had originally planned. A public community forum was originally scheduled for Wednesday, January 3rd. However, our redistricting committee, which has been tremendously hard at work, needs just a little bit more time to prepare for that event. And so this redistricting public community forum is being postponed and rescheduled for the following Thursday. It will be held on Thursday, January 11th, and it will be held at Council Rock South High School in the auditorium beginning at 7 p.m. So again, the original date for that was Wednesday, January 3rd, and we instead are postponing that by 8 days to Thursday, January 11th, Council Rock High School South auditorium beginning at 7 p.m. And certainly more information will be coming out via listserv as well as available on our website. Now, we did have an academic standards committee meeting scheduled for Thursday, January 11th, and we are canceling that meeting to accommodate this redistricting public community forum. And lastly, I mentioned that Council Rock Education Week will soon be upon us. Believe it or not, it is scheduled for the week of January 16th, and more information on CR Education Week will certainly be communicated once we return from winter break. And with that, I'll end my report by simply wishing everyone the happiest of holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Frazier. This is going to be our public comment. We normally read a long diatribe about being respectful. I think we're all adults, so we're just going to turn it over to public comment. I have two persons who are signed up. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes. The first person to speak this evening who has signed up is Mr. Richard Statler of Holland.
Rick Stetler, Holland. I attended a meeting on 11/30 of the Policy Committee, at which time Policy 103 and 248 were discussed and revisions there too. There were some suggestions to add gender identification to Policy 103, and I think to 248. I objected. Some people were in favor of it. I didn't know how it would turn out. I contacted all of you by email and Jerry by email about a week ago, and he informed me that just the word gender was being added. I looked today at work, and that is the case. Gender was added to Policy 103. No non-discrimination based on sex. They added gender and sexual identification, orientation. So the word gender was added, and I asked Jerry, isn't that the same as sex? Gender and sex to me were the same thing. Today I looked in several dictionaries, and there's a secondary meaning for gender. And the secondary meaning, for instance, according to Merriam, and I think Oxford also, is behavior or cultural or psychological traits associated with one sex. So the thought came to my mind, is this a backdoor way of getting gender identity into our policy? I hope not. I have no problem with gender identity being included in harassment. No one should be harassed no matter what. But I have many objections to it being included in Policy 103, non-discrimination. It discriminates against the other 99.5% and their privacy expectations and rights. It discriminates against religious people who think co-ed showers and latrines are something after marriage. It discriminates against parents who want to raise their kids with their own moral upbringing, not in loco parentis big brother. I think our superintendent and administrators are overwhelmed with duties concerning redistricting, budgets, teacher negotiations. They don't need toilet czar, gender arbitrator duties. So I'm hoping that someone could explain to me, I haven't checked out, I haven't had the time, I have a business, other schools' policies, but why did we add the word gender when we already have the word sex? Is it the secondary definition we're going after? I would just appreciate that, some commentary toward that. And to everyone, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you, Mr. Sandler. Also signed up for our evening is Veer Shah. Here, I think actually Vita mentioned you in the previous presentation, so I guess you're going to give us more update on that, maybe? Terrific.
Diversity, acceptance, and inclusion. These are simple words on their own, but have a tremendous impact on how we relate with others and they with us. Good evening, everyone. My name is Veer Sahu, and I'm a junior at Council Rock North High School. The Council Rock School District has taken significant steps in ensuring that these are not mere buzzwords, but represent a sincere and collective effort by our community in adopting the principles which underlie these words. For example, my high school has established the Diversity Advisory Committee, of which I am an active board member. Additionally, I was invited by Mr. T to give a presentation to our faculty about underrepresented faiths in our community, which was an eye-opener to some of them. I'm also a member of the School Board Required Diversity Committee, chaired by Ms. McCarthy, to discuss school-wide issues. I actually have the minutes from our December 11th meeting here. One of the concerns by the students and faculty was, quote, the school community as a whole has to do a better job of teaching and recognizing differences among our population and accepting these differences. I'm here to propose to the school board of how we can resolve this specific concern. As you're aware, students and families in our community come from different faiths. However, not all faiths are recognized by our school system. Hinduism and Islam are practiced by about 3 billion people around the world, including millions within our country, and many within our community as well. Yet, their major holidays are not recognized by the school system. What better way to educate our community about cultures and faiths which they might not be accustomed to than to give a day off from school on 2 major holidays by those faiths, Diwali and Eid. In addition, these days off would also make students who practice these faiths feel equally as valued and accepted in our schools and community. Isn't that the goal of our efforts, to include and accept everyone? This is not an unreasonable request and easily achievable. Some might argue that it is not possible to add more days off to the school calendar, but the board controls a calendar, and to me this seems like a very small price to pay if it leads to a more accepting community. Others might say that there will only be a minority of students affected, but shouldn't the school system treat all students the same? I humbly ask that the school board take my suggestion into consideration, as I believe it will significantly impact our students and our community for the better. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today.
Here, thank you for bringing that up. Just to be clear, Margaret, I also brought up the same topic at our academic standards committee meeting to discuss including additional holidays. So there was discussion about that. You might avail yourself of the YouTube to see where that was if you haven't already. And you're welcome to attend another meeting to talk in a more interactive manner at one of those meetings. We will be voting on the calendar at an upcoming meeting. It's not tonight.
Next month.
Next month. So, thank you. Any other public comment? That was the end of our sign-ups. Mrs. Carroll.
Nancy Carroll, Newtown Borough. I'm speaking tonight against Plan Con A and B and D or whatever for Wrightstown. I believe that one school and 2 buildings will save the district a lot of money. So I have here in my hand the top 10 reasons why Council Rock should save taxpayers money by combining Wrightstown and Newtown as one school. Number 10, out of 5,463 Council Rock elementary students, there are only 249 elementary students who live in Wrightstown Township. Number 9, Wrightstown should still get renovations, but the district has not given any demographic data on why an expansion would be needed. Number 8, instead, it is building classrooms in the north that can only be filled by taking students from the neighboring North Elementary schools, Newtown or Old Sulphindstone, and leave those schools underutilized. Or number 7, fill Wrightstown with kindergarten to 6th grade students who live in Northampton that will upset the parents of young students. Number 6, if Council Rock needs 5 more classrooms in the north area of the district, it should first utilize the 5 free ones, 4 at Sulphindstone and 1 at Wrightstown, rather than spending close to $5 million to add the 5 classrooms and what those classrooms would need at Wrightstown. Number 5, Council Rock can save taxpayers money by combining Wrightstown and Newtown as one fully integrated school in the same way that Chancellor and Goodnow were considered one school back in the day. Number 4, there's enough room without additions to put all the KM1 students currently going to Wrightstown and Newtown in Wrightstown, and the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders currently going to Wrightstown and Newtown in Newtown. And by combining them all, the current 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grades would go down from 2 grades a section at each school to only 3 grade sections and save money. Number 3, putting 5 classrooms onto Wrightstown necessitates building a gym big enough for students in the upper grades. Not building it does not necessitate an expanded gym. Number 2, balancing middle schools and high schools can be achieved by redistricting as previously planned by sending an entire Northampton Elementary School to Newtown Middle and then North. And number 1, spending money to expand Wrightstown takes capital money away from other schools, including Rolling Hills, Salt Finestill, Hillcrest, and Richborough, and all the schools where the capital improvement plan has been identified as an estimated budget of $129 million in capital improvement costs for the entire district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carroll. At this point, I'd like to take a little bit of a departure, if you will. We have one item for approval when we have someone who has traveled to be here just for us as we vote on that item. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Thomas, if you're prepared for it, is on the approval. It is the approval of on our agenda is 6A to engage Fox Rothschild for labor and related. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My first take.
I came in late, so I didn't sign up either.
No problem. Please introduce yourself.
My bad as well.
And just
Vincent Zambrano, Hillcrest. 2 questions. One, I just was wondering if anyone knew, we've got word of a student that has whooping cough at Hillcrest. Just wondering if that student was vaccinated. Just wondering if anyone knew that information. And secondly, on the last election, one of the things that was voted on was the whole property tax thing, which now I've familiarized myself with. So it seemed like there was 93% approval for removal of property tax. Further into that, it sounds like that is 30% of the local and state revenue. Therefore, that tax would have to come from somewhere. So the discussion, at least that I've read, is that that's going to come from fixed income. So I'm actually surprised to see 93%. And just wondering if anyone on the board has had a discussion or has any opinion for us to. I know it's still timeout, but thank you.
One, you want to address the whooping cough thing, or?
I am not certain. I'm looking over at Dr. Lambert.
Well, I mean, to the extent the board's going to have this discussion, it cannot be about
individual students
in any way that would identify any particular student.
So we certainly can't report back to you about an individual student, about their situation. We coordinate with the Department of Health, and if there's a notification that comes from the Department of Health based on theirs as communicable diseases, they notify us, and we have an obligation to pass that notification along and take the actions as described by the Bucks County Department of Health.
And I can assure you that took place in this case.
Regarding your other topic, that vote was actually not a vote to eliminate property tax, the property tax. That was a vote regarding the amount of the tax that could be levied or could be accepted. I don't remember exactly. It was a pathway to allow the state, under a different act, to modify the way schools are funded. So it's not the school district making that change. It would be the state might be changing the way it happens. That was a pathway to that, where until something comes to us from the state, we have no actions or plans about it. But I appreciate the question. Since I missed the first time, are there any other public comment? Anybody else want to make a public comment? Now, Mrs. Thomas, if you'll please make the motion for 6A.
I move to engage Fox Rothschild LLP to provide labor and relations labor and related negotiation services on behalf of the district for the negotiation of a successor agreement to the collective bargaining agreement between the district and the Council Rock Education Association in accordance with the proposal and engagement letter attached to this agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? This was an item of which is qualified for executive session.
Correct, Mr. Rowe.
And so the board, or representatives of the board, and then the board as a whole, met with representatives of the nominated firm, and this is what we're voting on this evening. Now, as per our board policy, because we have a participant remotely, the board policy requires that we have a roll call vote. And so,
Wendy Thomas,
Yes.
Michael Thor,
Yes.
Jerry Grupp,
yes.
Marianne McKee,
Yes.
Denise Brooks. Denise?
Because I did not have access to board documents for the last 2 weeks and just got access today, I was not able to fully read everything on tonight's agenda. Unfortunately, this was one thing that I'm just not comfortable with, so I'm going to abstain just because I'm not fully prepared to accept it.
Okay. Andy Block,
Yes.
Kyle McKessie,
Yes.
Edward Tate,
Yes.
And we're done. Very good. Well, thank you. And we look forward to fruitful and cooperative negotiations going forward. We are blessed as a district to have very good relations with our unions, and we look forward to fruitful and polite conversations and negotiations. So thank you. All right, we're going to return to our agenda as it was, and we have the items for discussion. First on our list is the Community Relations Department update from Mrs. O'Grady.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really sincerely appreciate it. While my name has been out in the public, I have not had the opportunity to interact and to talk about the work that I was brought here to do and the work to date. While surely it would be nice if I had 6 months to report on, I think I've made a little bit of headway in 3 months and wanted to share that with you. So I truly appreciate this time. I'll try to make it snappy, but also to be thorough, to let you know what's going on and what the vision and the goals are, or as I'm calling them, the priorities. So I've been here since September 18th, and when I first met for my interviews, I was able to, through several board members, through some of my colleagues, and with interactions with Dr. Fraser, start to develop a vision and a comprehension of where I wanted to go should I take on this role, and was obviously thrilled to come on board. So I'm going to go through some of that tonight and some of the work that's been done since September 18th. So to begin with, the priorities that I outlined and have been discussing with Dr. Fraser is that first and foremost, I was charged with expediting and then launching a new website for the school district. The current website is 11 years old, and we were very invested in a project already to get a new face for the school district in the form of the website. And I leapt into that right away. Along with that, I was also charged with starting to get an understanding of the redistricting concept. And I've spent the past few months investing time with the redistricting committee and with my colleagues to gain an understanding of that, so that we are ready to really be uploaded with information when we launch the website that helps people understand all the different aspects and dimensions and goals of redistricting. Twofold, I was looking to strengthen internal communications and to build up external communications, and that started really with week one, when I started to take over some of the outgoing information roles for Dr. Fraser, and to ease him up on that so that I could become somewhat of a voice of the school district for critical information and for promoting good news. And then to develop external communications through publications that would go out both internally and eventually externally, primarily through electronic means, to be budget-wise, but to really get the good word out in the community about what's going on inside of this really phenomenal school district. I looked early on at streamlining the listserv and messaging system that we have. I come from a school district that was using School Messenger and also had transformed from a listserv system that was a little bit unwieldy. So I had gone through a process like that before and was interested in kind of changing the face of a listserv so that it was both more manageable for the person going into the system and the person pushing information out. Strategically, I was looking to engage with the community. My role as community relations has relationships right in it, built in it. So eventually down the road, I'm looking to really leverage some great relationships and partnerships that support the school district and ultimately the teachers and the students. Primarily, I've started that relationship with CREF and have been supporting them. I'll be attending their next board meeting in January, and have been working pretty closely with Gail Acosta on getting messaging out for her. The next step in that will be to branch out with community relations. And I come from a role where I was a liaison to 6 different internal and external groups. So that's nothing that is strange to me. And then eventually, and this was a very big talking point when I first came on board via interview process, is my belief in a communications committee. Not that it needs to be a monthly committee, but at least an ad hoc. And I feel strongly in this because I am a department of one. And as a department of one, I need to be able to at times bounce ideas off of people. And I also need to be able to get into a system like any other committee would of regular protocols and procedures. Annual surveys, annual audits, annual focus groups. And to do that, you really require a committee around you to help to support that. So since September 18th, I've tackled some of the following initiatives. First and foremost was the website launch, working with my colleague Jennifer Stretch, who has a lot of organizational information embedded right inside her own body. We got to work quickly. Jennifer and I started going on what we called the Jingle Bell Tour for the past month. I've met one-on-one with every principal and webmaster to assess their website and to talk about what's important with them so that as we transition to a new website, their needs are met. While we do want to put some controls in place, we don't want it to be so foreign from them that they are in shock. We want this to be a smooth, seamless transition, but we do know that because it's 11 years old, there's a good amount of change that needs to take place. So this will be a 3-phase process. Phase 1 is changing the aesthetic. Change 2 is culling out or tweezing out the information that's no longer relevant. And then phase 3 is building up new data, new information, new content on the website. So in addition to that, as I said, we've institutionalized some publications. I institutionalized a news update that goes out weekly that has a combination of topical information and photographs, videos. I think that duality, that hybrid, makes it engaging for people, and is also important to get our students' faces, our teachers' faces out there. They are our brand. And they are very critical to what we say about ourselves. I published the first edition of a district-wide quarterly newsletter. It was an 8-page newsletter. It will come out again in January. The fall edition came out in November. The January edition, just like the fall edition, will start with a seasonal message from Dr. Fraser. And then we'll go into curricular information, extracurricular information, programmatic changes, things that we are focusing on, like our diversity work, some of the large buckets that are initiatives within the school district. The Communications for redistricting have gone to a weekly basis at this level. We are on a 7-day rotation talking about what the committee is doing and getting ready to launch for the news website, a redistricting hub. That's where the maps will live for the new boundary lines. We're going to put into that hub the information on when the committee met, the committee members, all of the updates that I've been putting out. I've gone in and tweezed out all of the information from the master capital plan, any documents that had reference or made reference to the redistricting. I pulled those informations out of there, and they're going to live inside that hub so that people can do one-stop shopping. And then as we go down the road of redistricting, we'll add to that. Also inside of that hub will be all the FAQs, which the first of which will start tomorrow with a running list of frequently asked questions that have to do with redistricting, and then as we go down this road, grandfathering. I talked about supporting CREF already, and the streamlining of the listserv, and then I'm also prepping for an electronic annual report. It seems like that might be so far down the road, but if you don't start collecting information as you go, then that is a mountain to climb at the very end of the year. That would be an electronic publication that would focus on a good number of things that I'll highlight in just a minute or two. So to start, the biggest of the endeavors that we have going on right now is the new website platform. This is the look of the new website, and I'll show you what it looks like in its real form. Do I? Yes. Here we go. Okay, so this is the new website. Let me actually, I need to minimize it. I'll need your help, Matt. All right. All right, well, short of having the website to preview for you.
It's always easier when you're at your own desk, isn't it?
It is, and we have it. We have it, and perhaps Matt, you can help. Can we get it through me connecting through an email or through my website? Okay, I'll send you the live. It's still in the beta form, but I'll send it to you. In words, the website is designed with a large panoramic photography section, and that is to highlight the students and the teachers and the administrators. And then it has down the side resources. We've moved from a quick link format. The quick links that we had were 30 to 40 links, and when there's that many, it's no longer quick. So we expedited that into resources. We have a middle section that is all news and events, and then we've completely moved to a new design for the calendar section. The address that's up there is the way that you can pull it up on your phone in a responsive model. So if you put that in, it will shrink to your phone. The new website is responsive, so it gets as large as you need it to be. This is it in its responsive form. As you can see, the calendar has changed quite dramatically from what we had. But it's not in its true form. Okay. It's still not opening up properly. It's okay. Oh, here it is. It's not, for some reason, it's not open properly. I apologize. Okay. So one thing with the website is that we are moving to a responsive model, as I said, so it should work whether it's on a very large screen, on an iPad, on an iPhone. It's going to get large, it's going to get small, it's not going to lose any of its content appeal whatsoever. The enhanced communications that I spoke to is that from week 2, we started with a weekly news update. We also started with a monthly board brief, which mentions notable actions taken by the board and also information that is noteworthy from board meetings and photographs that are noteworthy from board meetings. That is the Council Rock Quarterly Newsletter that was put out in November. The January will come again. And then that is a mock-up of an annual report that would list end-of-year graduation attendance, scholarships, the budget in a preview for the 18-19 budget, also points of pride for the school district, and large programmatic bragging rights for the school district. As well as doing publications and changing the website, I have done a lot of mental gymnastics around streamlining, coordinating, and branding some custom communication systems. The most of which is moving to an all-in-one notification system, and that would be through Blackboard. The Blackboard notification system that integrates with the current website would allow for one-stop shopping, a single platform with a single sign-on. And what is nice about this is that not only can website announcements be posted at the same time that you do a robocall and that you do an email, but you can also do social media. And also it takes the listserv, the new listserv platform, which is noted here, and that information is inside of the messaging system. So I can actually pull the listserv from right there. So rather than go to the listserv list, send a message, come out, go into School Messenger, send a message, come out, go into the website, send a message, come out, I can do that all in one system. And as you can see, the listserv platform is a really clean design that marries aesthetically with the website platform. So it's no longer a list with abbreviations for schools. People toggle off the schools they want or the district level, and that's what they see rather than a long-running list. Also, a part of the new methodology is coordinated branded messaging. In talking to all the principals and in going around the school district, we've got a lot of different kinds of messaging going out, but we don't have a coordinated branded message. So I've started to design and mock up different types and archetypes of branded messages. Should the principals want to move to weekly messaging, this could also be done on a monthly, but it would incorporate their brands. And the nice thing about this is that it is very proprietary. They can send out branded messaging that really talks about their school, but at the same time, they can underscore information that's important at a district level. And that way I can feed information to them and we can be coordinating our messaging on the same level. And then finally, I've done some mental gymnastics and work around mobile apps for parents, and with the hopes that that might come down the line. So I've done a little research on that and pushed out a community survey to parents. Out of the 789 parents that responded to the survey, 81% said that they would be interested in the mobile app. And the nice thing about the mobile app is that while our new website is responsive and while it's going to shrink very nicely and be appropriate for any device that you're on, it's not something that really speaks to the person who's using it. So you can customize it in very distinct ways for a mobile app. If you have a family with 3 different languages spoken in that family, you can actually have 3 different settings so that the person who's reading it is reading it for the language that speaks to that individual person. It has some nice features as far as the front screen of the mobile application would have lunch menus. It would have an icon for calendars. It would have an icon for Hack. It would also have an icon for media stream, for social media, and also something called a tip line where people could anonymously, this would all flow through my office if they were riding by Hillcrest Elementary or any one of our schools and saw a broken window where there was something on fire, or there was an incident where they knew there was someone that shouldn't be there, they can put in an anonymous tip, and then that can be reported in real time very quickly. That could also eventually morph into an anonymous type of school-based bully hotline, but that would be further down the road. Once we launched the app, if we were to go there, we would eventually kind of beta test that for a first year, and then maybe if it was really something that was worthy, we would push it out to the schools. As I said, still to come in 2018, I'm looking to establish key communicator groups. I want to get together with the different PTO groups. I also want to get together with some local groups such as our Rotary, the Chamber of Commerce. I need to get out into the community and start to make connections on those levels. I'm very accustomed to doing that, and not as accustomed to being in my office all the time. I'd like to be on at least a 40-60 percentage where I'm out and I'm connecting with people. I think that's the work of this job, and that's the work that I enjoy. And then again, also to be ready to launch a communications committee so that my office of one, in theory, becomes an office of many. But I'm, merely the front face of that, doing the work of many for the district. So thank you.
Thank you, Susan. That was terrific.
Thank you.
We got it. Congratulations on your first formal presentation.
Thank you.
And the board.
I apologize about
Can't be. Don't apologize for anything. You were terrific. We clearly have a ton of opportunities. You've clearly done a lot of work and have a lot that you want to do. There was one thing here that was conspicuous in its absence to me, and I'm sure that you haven't had a chance to think about it yet because it's such a big opportunity. Is the TV channel on your radar? I'm sure that it is. Is that something that's down the line?
It's down the line.
Okay.
What I'm really interested in doing, and I did this in another point of my life, is that I think one way to attack a TV channel, I used Montgomery County Community College to help me support the TV channel in the district. They had wonderful interns who came in and worked with students. When you have just a handful of teachers who are already embedded in curriculum for their classrooms, it's very hard to do. So I'm going to look around locally and see if there is an opportunity for maybe Bucks County Community College to assist with that. But it is definitely a void right now, and it is static, and it needs to become live and robust and dynamic. So that's down the road, but programming of that nature is definitely needed here.
Great. Looking forward to seeing all the great things you do.
Thank you.
Ed, you have a comment?
I do.
I could tell.
You didn't use your pencil.
Thank you. Oh, he was reaching for the microphone. There you go.
Susan, thank you. That's good stuff. And the good news stories are terrific, and I think they're extremely valuable. And even more important to me is the kind of critical information that is necessary for the community to get on a timely basis. Particularly, you talked about creating a hub to support redistricting. I know Dr. Fraser did an awfully good job with the master capital planning process with the assistance of Andy Block and other people and trying to communicate around that. But that's a huge job, and it's great to have you here taking that work away from Dr. Fraser and making sure that the community has the information they need about something as critical as the redistricting. So, it's the good news stories are terrific, but really this high value information I think is important. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to create a hub for the redistricting. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we've already identified the categories, buckets within there. And now it's about filling them up, and I'm excited, when the map is ready to go, to put that in there so that people can really get a close look at that and start to inform themselves based on what the committee has done.
Good, and we like
Yeah.
FAQs.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
I had one question and one observation. One of the, about 30% of our community has children in the school, and 70% of households don't. And so that's one of the things that we always, in our communications, because we deal with children and educating children, we always focus on. And I think that's one of the opportunities that we need to strongly figure out is how to make that communication. So it's a challenge ahead of you. The Rotary clubs, but there are people in our community who aren't members of those clubs.
Sure.
And how we do that in outreach. So that's something which, not at this moment, take care of the big rocks first, but at some point we come to encounter that. And the second thing is I'm thrilled to see it because with all due deference to our print colleagues in the news media, it's less and less print and more content on the web. So I think they both have a place, and I expect us to leverage both, but the ability to get into people's homes is dramatic, and I love the aspect that you showed with the relevant portion. I can see where a home with kids could be bombarded with multiple sources and that they come coordinated and carry the same message within them. Means wherever they look, they get the right message. That's great.
Yeah.
So we look forward to more.
And there are economical ways of getting the message out about something like an annual report where you can't send it to everyone. We could very economically send a postcard out to tell people to drive them to our new website, to drive them to seeing the annual report. So we can get there, and we can have folks. Those key communicator groups are very important to have the wave of messaging that's out there.
I think I just wanted to acknowledge, we all know how busy we have all been. And I think I forgot at what a busy time you have arrived in this capacity. So I can't imagine the number of hours that you are working on a regular basis in your Department of One, just in terms of hearing now about already looking ahead in terms of buckets and recreating and creating things from scratch. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
While Susan is up there, we have items that are related to that on our agenda to vote this evening. As long as we'll not make you jump up and down.
That's
we
fine.
We could go through those items. Certainly the Blackboard, but Matt, is the web accessibility also within Susan's space? The web accessibility tool for current website provider, is that also within Susan's space?
It will be next year.
Okay. So I'm looking at our agenda item E, which is the approval of the web accessibility tool. And then we'll talk also about F, if that's all right. Someone ready to can someone make a motion for E?
Sure, I'll make it. E, you said, right? Please. I move to approve the purchase of Ally for Web Community Manager for use in conjunction with Blackboard, our website developer.
Second. Any discussion? Any questions? With Mrs. Brooks, are you still present on the phone?
Yes, I am.
With everyone's agreement, I'll ask for the secretary to record this as passing with unanimous consent. Hearing no objections. So please report it that way. The second item will be the...
Point of order.
Go ahead.
The policy.
Oh, you're right. I
They should
forgot.
allow for unanimous consent.
No, I forgot. I made sure you were here and I forgot about that.
You made note of it earlier, Mr.
I know. That's,
It's your first day.
I can only say that tonight.
It's not that easy.
I almost said that.
Roll call.
I know how to do it.
Harder than it looks.
Go ahead.
Wendy Thomas,
Yes.
Michael Thorold,
Yes.
Jerry Grubb,
Yes.
Marianne McKee,
Yes.
Denise Brooks,
Yes.
Andy Block,
Yes.
Kyle McKessie,
Yes.
Edward Tate.
Yes.
Very good. The second item that we'd like to cover in that section is the updated contract with Blackboard Incorporated. Andy, you want to make that motion?
I move to approve the contract with Blackboard, Inc. for the period of January 1, 2018 through June 30, 2018 in the amount of $9,388 and $18,753 for the 2018-2019 fiscal year, subject to audit.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have questions.
Very good. Dr. Nolan.
I had questions last week. My question centers around, we also have this wonderful software package called Hack. And if a lot of people try and use it, it seems to break. It's gotten better. My concern with switching to something that we know works is, are we sure it's going to work? And whose department owns it moving forward is. So if you could enlighten us a little bit on that, that would be.
We are. It would fall under my department, and I can assure you that it would work. It has the same rate of speed that we have with the current school messenger. The feature that I am most attracted to is the texting feature. It's an opt-out rather than an opt-in. The opt-out feature always produces a larger universe of participants compared to an opt-in feature for texting. It takes on average about 10 to 11 minutes to get a full robocall system out. It takes about 30 seconds to get a full texting message out. And as someone who has been involved in a national level news crisis, when you are running against handheld devices, seconds count. And the other thing is that parents, when something happens, the first place they go naturally is to the website. The faster you can get the message onto the website, whether that message is to not come to school, go here instead, the better off you are. So the fact that that can be done on one platform is also very appealing to me. And then thirdly, the fact that we have the listserv rolled in there as a group I can quickly communicate to. That goes out to the community largely, but it is at the same rate, if not better, because of the texting mechanism that's automatically built in.
And you'll hit the social media at the same time.
That happens all at the same time. And the social media was available through School Messenger. I used that in a past district. I found it to be cumbersome. This does an automatic trim of content so that it does some of the handiwork for me. But in the 2-hour delay that I pushed out the other day, I would have liked to have been a little smoother than I was. And I think this will get me that smoothness.
I'd like to ask that Mr. Cox look over that texting. I could be out of my realm, you might be something, but it's my understanding that without direct permission, you can't text people and they need to opt in, and I could be totally wrong, so I don't need an answer tonight. If you two work that out and it's good, I agree with you, it'll get more people, and it probably is easier for people, more what they want. But professionally, I've had some other information told to me, but might be just a different realm or something. I would just ask that it gets looked at.
I will defer to Mr. Cox in just a moment, but I can assure you that every single message comes with the ability for a person to text stop.
I know,
and if you
but
stop,
I thought you needed permission before you did the first message.
And frankly, I don't know the answer to the question off the top of my head, but I'm happy to look into it.
Once someone tells you that you can text them, it's my understanding, then they always have to have the ability to stop, but they need to give direct permission. And again, my knowledge may be subject to a very specific thing. So I just ask that you guys look at it.
Certainly.
We will.
As a practical matter, I think it also comes to be part of the registration. Because
Yes.
obviously they wouldn't have the message, and as you register for it, I would imagine you can opt in or out at that point.
I just would ask that that gets looked at.
I mean, even without knowing what the law requires, my advice will be that any individual who's going to receive a text message would have consented to that in advance.
Individually opt in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would have affirmatively opted in.
But,
and
understand what I'm saying. I just need us to look at it, that's all. I'm
and
not
every
against it.
single layer of the Blackboard notification system has an opt-out component to it.
Right, that's, thank you.
One final question. So the 9,000 we're going for this year is really a partial year.
Yes.
And it's in parallel with the system we have. We are not, come
We are not
January 1.
replacing. No, I would not replace during an inclement season. This is training. This is upstart of the system.
That's fine. And so I point that out to say that the next year, while it seems to be double because it's a full year, is $18,000. That also would replace the system that we currently have in place, which runs at $16,731. So incrementally, it's about a $2,000 difference once we're fully switched over to the new system.
It is,
And we would
yes.
anticipate those costs. Is there a riser in the contract? Is there a limit on the rise each year contractually to prevent it from doubling the next year?
I don't believe so.
Is this
But,
subject to attorney review? Did we? Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, and I should say that 2,000 and change,
Oh.
but it is, we have many principals already using the newsletter template that comes part and parcel with this platform. So if you were to multiply up everyone who's using it and we push that out, that's actually an additional $784 savings.
Mrs. Brooks, you're still with us. Any questions on this items?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, we're gonna do a roll call vote, please.
Mary Ann McKee,
Yes.
Denise Brooks. Denise,
Yes. Sorry, I was on mute, yes.
Andy Block,
Yes.
Kyle McKessie,
Yes.
Edward Tate,
Yes.
Wendy Thomas,
Yes.
Michael Thorwald,
Yes.
Jerry Brown.
Yes. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now going to return to the part of the agenda we should have been on, which would be the committee reports. So I think we're going to address first academic standards.
Academic standards met on December 7th. Mr. Desko and Dr. Elliott presented the annual achievement summary highlighting student performance on various state and national tests and assessments, including PSSA, Keystone exam, SAT, ACT, and AP exams. School performance profile scores were also shared as well. I would encourage anybody who has an interest to visit the website and take a look at the materials that are available, as well as go to YouTube and watch the meeting. It was a great informative meeting. And additionally, Mr. Desko and Dr. Elliott were sharing information about next steps in the work of professional learning communities and how we will go about achieving to get to where we want to be.
Very good. Next up is going to be our facilities committee.
Facilities met on the 14th of December. We had our usual intro updates on the two middle schools, some preliminary discussion and material on both Wrightstown Elementary and Rolling Hills Elementary. You can see that, all that material is part of the meeting. On the consent agenda tonight, you'll see several pieces, access control materials and purchases for a number of the schools. I don't need to go into them, but this is just ongoing work we've been doing with the new key fobs and access control for the buildings. One thing you'll see that's rather large on these things, is the kiosk systems for the two schools, the green kiosks. So those are part of the LEED certification, and they're a learning tool for the two middle schools. So that will be, we discussed those at the facilities meeting, and I'm hoping we'll get a demo to you at a future meeting. And then a few other where we didn't spend all the money. We had some allowances left where it's actually a net positive to the district. So they'll be in there. There is some Wrightstown Elementary School PlanCon documents we're approving. PlanCon isn't really happening, but we're going to approve the documents in case something changes. So PlanCon A and B will be in the resolution or in the consent agenda. And lastly, we're approving the Act 34 resolution and hearing. That will be, and that's a legal requirement as we move forward with anything that Wrightstown. The bulk of the meeting, believe it or not, though, was on custodial services. We interviewed 3 firms and went through their offerings for new custodial services for next year. Actually, for next year. And so that took the better part of the night. We'll be going through that again at a later date. So that's facilities.
Very good, thank you. Finance Committee.
Finance was also on December 14th. We had a presentation from Zach Willard from PFM. We talked about need for borrowings and what the timing of that might look like. They will be coming to us likely in January, February. It was a rather brief finance because we were interviewing the custodial firms, as Dr. Thorwart mentioned. And we did have a brief discussion on the web design, which we just approved. That's it.
Policy Committee was mine. As we heard during public comment today, we reviewed both our Policy 103, which is non-discrimination in school and classroom practices, and 248, the unlawful harassment. We were joined by members of the public, as well by Joanne Summers of East Vernon Gray, who is board counsel in that area. Those were the only 2 topics we covered. Just addressing the question myself, the items are on the consent agenda this evening. The query was raised regarding our inclusion of the word gender, and the speaker, as he spoke of it, spoke about knowing what sex was. Well, not knowing what sex was, that sounds terrible, but understanding the word sex, understanding sexual orientation, and why would we include the word gender? I can't speak for the whole board, but one of the aspects of gender, even as was cited in the conversation from the public comment, really talks about behaviors, meaning that someone's behavior, because it may be thought to be, it may be thought to be characteristic of another gender. Their orientation is not a question here, but maybe somebody acts in a way that someone thinks is, if they're a male, thinks is effeminate, or someone thinks that a woman acts in a masculine manner. That would also be considered under gender, because it's the way they act, it is the way they are perceived. And so I believe that discrimination, speaking only for myself, that discrimination because of the way you act or characterize yourself in sitting in a meeting, sitting in a room, without regard to anything else having to do with sex or sexual orientation, could result in discrimination or bias. And for me, speaking again only for my own position, that was why I would agree to the inclusion of the word gender, and we will see if the rest of the board agrees. Thank you. Next one was the MBIT update.
As I understand from Mr. Bialik, last week's planned meeting was canceled. There's no update this month.
Very good. With that, we would ask for the IU. Mrs. Brooks, you were our IU representative most recently, and I believe that we did have an IU meeting. Mrs. Brooks, any update on the IU?
Yeah, there was no December meeting, and the next meeting is Tuesday, January 17th.
Very good, thank you. Next would be the Council Rock Education Foundation liaison. That has historically been Mr. Bialik. I'm unaware of any actions or discussion. Anybody aware of it? No. Very good. All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda at this point. And I'll look for a motion for the consent agenda. Ed will make the motion, please.
Approval of the consent agenda. I move to approve the consent agenda, items A through M, as contained in the attachments to this agenda, subject to audit.
Second.
Can I ask for one? Can we strike item N, which actually is the approval of the consent agenda? It's just a mechanical error that shouldn't have been included.
But his motion said A through M, like Mary.
I can't hear really well.
Okay. Well,
go ahead, say something. Andy. Okay, very good. Any discussion on any of the items that are presented here this evening? This does include, just so we're aware from the public's perspective, there was a discussion from a citizen this evening regarding their position on PlanCon. PlanCon is included in this as well. Very good. Again, as we have a representative participating on the phone, we'll have to go through a roll call vote, please.
Kyle McKessie?
Yes.
Edward Tate,
Yes.
Wendy Thomas,
Yes.
Michael Thorwart,
Yes.
Jerry Grupp,
Yes.
Mary Ann McKee,
Yes.
Denise Brooks,
Yes.
Andy Block.
Yes.
Very good. And with that, we move down into what is listed on our agenda under the items for board approval. Moving on to 6B, the diversity and inclusion training for administrators. This is a presentation by Dr. Elliott, or update by Dr. Elliott. No?
You want the motion for sure?
Is there a motion? Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That was a presentation alone. Keep going. Sorry. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Very good, Mr. Dr. Thorwart.
I move to approve the consulting services of Living Strong Consulting LLC at a cost not to exceed $15,750, subject to audit and solicitor review.
Second.
Very good. Dr. You want to just give us a quick update on what this is about?
Absolutely. So this is part of the work that we've been doing as a district with diversity and inclusion. This particular group, Living Strong Consulting, is going to be working with our administrative staff, both of our principals as well as central office administrators, during the course of the spring, starting in January and running through May. The training is geared to really looking at systems thinking and policy and how to really understand cultural competence from a broader perspective in the role that an administrator plays. It includes 5 modules that the administrators will all participate in. And in between each of those modules, consultants from Living Strong will visit the schools and coach or work with the principals within their buildings. So at the conclusion of this training, the goal is that principals will work on an action plan that is geared towards how to continue to look at diversity and inclusion and cultural competence from a systems-based perspective as they continue the work they're doing in their buildings.
Very good, thank you. Dr. Thor?
Dr. Elliott, it's fine. When they come up with these action plans, I don't want to, take them apart, but I think it would be nice for the board to see some of them, just, show us what you're doing to go forward. It doesn't have to be their plan, maybe a presentation, but, plans are just that. I'd like to see something, what we accomplish throughout the year if we could.
Certainly, and my plan is at some point at academic standards, whether it's at the end of this year or the very beginning of next year, to really look at where we are, and that can be part of what we do in that update.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Thomas?
Is this money currently in the budget and coming out of training?
This money is part of the Ed Initiatives budget that we have set aside for PLCs and some other Ed initiatives. So yes.
Okay.
Dr. Elliott, a question. Is this is an expense for this year running through May. Is there anticipation that there's a follow-on expense to this in subsequent years? Is there an assessment period to make that we will decide if we will use it again in future years? What's the plan of attack?
With this particular group, I don't anticipate that we will have an additional expense in subsequent years. However, I think we need to go through the training and determine as an administrative team what next steps we might need, if that would involve any more work with this particular group or work in a different manner.
The only reason I ask is, I think in conversations about this, we've talked about corporate world. There's renewal training each year on certain types of behaviors or certain actions that should be done or should not be done on a regular basis. And I just wonder if this sets us up for that. So I'll be interested at the end of the year to get an assessment of this. Was it money well spent, and what our plan is as we come to the end of the year.
So I agree they're usually on, for me at least, they're online workshops that you sit at your desk and do. They're not hardly expensive because they're just deployed and you have to pass a test after you take it, etc. So I would just say that I don't know that we need people back here. We maybe can deploy something like that. And I would like to say that when the presentation comes back as the results, I'd like it very specifically tied to improvement in education. If we're going to use some of the money we put aside for education, it's not that I don't think it should be done. I'm not sure I agree with that line item where it's being placed, but it's $15,000. I'm going to go with it. But if that's where we're taking the money from, then I want it the goals of it to be very specifically tied to education in the classroom and student achievement. Because that money was put aside, in my mind, speak for myself, for that purpose. Again, don't mind the $15,000. I just want to make, that money's not endless, and we have a lot of capital expenses coming. And for me, every penny that gets spent out of that fund has to tie back to students' achievement. Thank you.
Very good. No objections, and we'll go for a roll call vote. Mrs. Brooks, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Edward Tate,
Yes.
Wendy Thomas,
Yes.
Michael Thorwart.
Yes.
Jerry Grubb,
Yes.
Mary Ann McKee,
Yes.
Denise Brooks,
Yes.
Andy Block,
Yes.
Kyle McKessie.
Yes.
Very good. Can I have a motion around the personnel actions?
Can we take both of those together like we do every week?
Personnel actions and personnel addendum. Everyone's good? No one's shaking their head no.
Can we take both of those?
You would like to make a motion? Nick?
Sure, I'd love to. I move to approve the personnel actions as contained in the attachments to this agenda.
And further, keep going to the further. You're going to drop down to D as well.
Further, I'm also new at this. Thank you.
No.
Further, I move to approve the personnel actions addendum as contained in the attachments to this agenda.
Very good. Thank you.
Second.
Questions? Only because I'm glad for him, but sad for us. I will note that I didn't know his first name was John. Rudy Lambert is going to be departing from the district in the new year. Rudy has been one of the special services staff members, and I think he serves as a psychologist in the district. So he's been an important part. You know, we talk about actions this district takes around safety and security, and part of those actions includes the CR Cares and the interaction with students and students who are having difficulties. And Rudy has been a big part of that. And so we wish him well in his retirement, and we will miss him. That is not to the exclusion of anyone else, but I've worked with Rudy for now almost 18 years, and I'll be sad to see him go. All right, we'll ask for a roll call vote on those two items together.
Michael Thorwart,
Yes.
Jerry Grubb,
Yes.
Mary Ann McKee,
Yes.
Denise Brooks,
Yes.
Andy Block,
Yes.
Kyle McKessie,
Yes.
Edward Tate,
Yes.
Wendy Thomas.
Yes.
Moves us down to element G, 6G, which I believe we've covered all the approvals. This is the presidential appointments of committee chairs. Now that we are a full board of 9, just walk through those for a second. Policy committee, I had chaired that last year. I would prefer not to chair it this year. Mr. Tate, you have offered yourself up to chair policy.
Absolutely.
Very good. Next, we have facilities. Dr. Thorwart, I believe you were leading facilities in this past year,
I was.
and I think you have asked if you could continue.
I'd like to see these buildings out, yes.
Out of where? Very good.
Thank you.
So I'll include you on that, as soon as I write your name down correctly. Finance. I believe, Mrs. Thomas, you had chaired that last year, and we're
You
just
believe
continue.
correctly.
Huh?
You believe correctly.
Okay. Make conversation, just make it tough on me, my friend.
I just have to teach a little bit, Jerry. Come on.
Not a problem.
Yes, I would love to continue to work with Bob and facilitate the finance committee. Thank you.
Very good. Academic standards.
Just one day off a year.
Academic standards. Mrs. McKessie, I believe you had chaired that in the past year, and now that you get to be my coach as the vice president here, I think we had talked about if Mrs. McKee would chair that.
We did.
We're all
I'd be
agreeable to
grateful,
that.
yes.
That'd be great. So Mary Ann will chair that. The IU, Denise, we had spoken, you seemed to enjoy that and had made some important contributions there. I believe you've agreed that you would continue with the IU.
Enthusiastically.
Very good, thank you. I've also asked, let me just digress for a moment. In her service of supporting the IU and bringing information back to the board, Denise is and representing us on the IU. Denise has also brought back a number of things regarding legislation, what's going on in Harrisburg. There is a legislative liaison in our relationship with PSBA, and I would like to ask if Denise, if you would also consider being that point person for us there. I think it coordinates well with what you're doing with the IU.
I agree. I'd be happy to.
Terrific. Thank you. Lastly, well, not lastly, MBIT. This past year, it was Mr. Bialik and Dr. Foster, and then it was Mr. Bialik and Mrs. Mulholland. I believe Mark has found that to be rewarding and would like to continue with that. Andy, I think you expressed an interest in doing that as well.
Yes, sir.
Everyone okay with that? No problem. If there is to be an alternate, I believe there is to be an alternate assigned to that too, so that we have two representatives. Would anybody be interested in being the alternate for MBIT? It would just be if the first two couldn't make it, we could have somebody else.
I'd be happy to.
Would you like to do that, Mary? Very good. I believe we have an alternate. We'll check on that. Council Rock Education Foundation Liaison. That was, in past years, I think it was actually a position that Mr. Bialik was really interested, as I believe Mr. Bialik is the only graduate of Council Rock who serves on the board. Anybody else here graduate?
Attendee.
We'll have to talk later. So I believe he's expressed an interest in continuing. Ask Mr. Bialik to continue to be the Council Rock Education Foundation representative. And then the last one is just the PSBA.
That was it.
Yeah, we do that as a whole board. We all were on the mailing list, and that's great. We did approve continuingly, that's what we did approve enduringly the charters last time. We had taken off of the academic, capital planning one. So those will endure as they are. I believe that brings us through our committee appointments. And so at that point, unless anybody has another committee that I've missed, I'm going to turn to Mr. Cox and say solicitor's report.
I have a few items. The rhythm of this meeting has caught me off guard a bit. So,
you too.
Mr.
I'm rushing to get out of here by 9.
Mr. Rupp, you had asked a question about an increase in fees on the Blackboard contract. That required me to look up their master agreement, which is online. They can raise fees after the initial term upon 30 days notice, but the district has the same time frame in which to terminate a renewal. So that seems to me to be fair.
Right. Okay. Keep talking.
With respect to the gender issue, which came up with respect to policy 248 and 103, I think. The policies that were on the board's consent agenda met with our approval. They had been discussed numerous times. And just coincidentally, today we received an email from the Department of Ed's Office of Civil Rights informing us that they had also approved of the revisions that were made. So OCR is not the final arbiter of how that policy should read, but it is an important office with respect to those two policies. So those met with our approval as well. An issue came to my attention that Mr. Reinhardt asked me to speak to earlier in the day in his absence. And that was the issue that has arisen as a result of the legislation that's pending at the federal level, pending the president's signature, which limits or puts a cap on certain state and local the deductibility of certain state and local taxes, including real property taxes and state and local income taxes, that would be capped for those people who itemize their federal taxes. And the issue was whether this district or other taxing authorities could allow taxpayers to prepay real estate taxes in 2017 for tax year 2018 in order to take advantage of the unlimited deductibility currently in place prior to this legislation taking effect, assuming the president signs it. And the short answer is no, because Pennsylvania law prohibits a school district or any other taxing authority from collecting a tax prior to passing a budget and actually levying the assessment or the tax pursuant to a bill. So real estate taxes can only be collected by the school district or other taxing authorities in Pennsylvania after a bill has been levied. So setting aside the feasibility issues of prepayment of taxes, current Pennsylvania law doesn't allow it. And then let me just close my report out by announcing the executive sessions on 12/14 and 12/21, which were related to the issue of labor negotiations. And that's the extent of my report, Mr. Rupp, unless there are any questions about any of that.
I appreciate your commentary. I think it was important that the question had come up about the taxes. I remind everyone that Mr. Cox's consultation is as a solicitor, as a counselor to the board. So he's giving the board advice with regard to whether we could collect taxes. This is not meant to represent counsel to anyone other than the board.
That's for sure.
So I'll be your attorney one. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the question was from the board and the administration about our ability to collect that. He has now told us that we cannot collect it, and that's the advice given to the board. So it's not advice to the public, it is strictly the board. Very good. We come to old business on the agenda. No one's got a pencil in the air, so we'll do that.
Did Mr. Cox get a ceremonial pencil?
Well, he's
got a stack of them. So the joke on the pencil, folks, is that so that I would know who needs to speak is so I could note when they were looking for recognition. But he's got a lot of them just trying to shut me up. Now. New business. Any new business coming to the board tonight? That was quick. Very good. With that, we move on to, we'll do this on paper. Public comment. Again, we are adults. We know that we're speaking in public and that people are watching us. And we remind anybody who wants to speak that we have a 3-minute. We ask you to abide by the 3-minute rule or thereabouts. Public comment. Anyone wants to approach for public comment? Please state your name and where you're from. Good evening, Mrs. Carroll.
Nancy Carroll, Newtown Borough. I'd like to thank Andy Block for bringing up the conspicuous absence of the TV. And I hope that you become a board member who continues to push that we do something with that channel. I understand that you, Ms. O'Grady, have just started your job and you've done an awful lot of things. I don't mind it being on your back burner as long as it's on the back burner and that we have a timeline or something in plan. And when you do get committee members to be on your communications, that you get some people that have some expertise in the TV channel. I think it's an embarrassment. There are more people in this district who own TVs than own computers. And most of the people who only own TVs happen to be people who are on fixed incomes where the increases in taxes affect them the most. And that's all they know about Council Rock is through the TV. And there's a lot of fill time there, and we could be informing them of a lot of things. I also like to say I agree tonight with Mr. Tate, who talked about how important getting information about redistricting on the web is. And I'm hoping that before we have the January 11th meeting, that we have some data that we can absorb before we go to the meeting. And I also hope that your employment not only allows you to get out and meet the community and the principals, but allows Mr. Frazier to get out more and meet with the community and the principals. And I think having the face of his leadership out in the community will greatly give confidence to those that meet and hear him speak. Second of all, there's so many loose ends in capital planning, and we now don't have a committee. I think we should have some kind of final report or what wasn't covered or something instead of just letting, what we're going to do with LSAT, all those things that are hanging in the air. Make a list of them or a report at some time to the community. And lastly, I spend a lot of time at facilities and finance meetings, and I usually speak at the end, and some of them are very, very long meetings. And this last one was the second time I was told that what I said after waiting for 3 hours at public comment wasn't going to be recorded. So I hope we can improve on that so that no matter how long the meeting is, everything is recorded. And I didn't hear that there was an executive session at the end of that meeting, and I was asked to leave at the end of the meeting, and I don't mind leaving, not for an executive session, but if there was one, I hope that it gets announced. And I'd like to thank everybody who ran to be on the school board, whether you won or you lost or you were incumbent or somebody new to the board. The fact that we had 3 races where there was no contestants means that it's really hard to get people to run for school board. So running, I appreciate anybody who ran, whether I agreed with them or not, and I'd like to thank them for running for school board. Thank you.
Ms. Carroll, were you referring to the executive session on the 14th? 12/14?
That's the date of the facilities and
Want to
finance.
announce it?
Yeah, I did announce it. I just wanted to be clear. I announced that. That was for labor negotiations.
Second thing I want to make a point about, Mrs. Carroll referred to that her comments were not recorded. That is not intentional. What happened, at least in the second one for sure, we run those meetings with YouTube and Hangouts. And we had exhibits that were on a USB drive that night. And as Matt pulled the USB drive to return it to the person who had presented it to us, the session ended. It was a glitch. And so while we apologize to you, it is certainly not intentional. It was, as you sat next to Matt, he pulled the USB drive out to return it to the person, and the system went down. So our apologies that they were not recorded. Board members present were video.
Vincent Zambrata, Hillcrest. I wanted to just thank you guys for all of your work. Again, as Ms. Thomas pointed out before, it's a busy time of year. Dr. Elliott and Mr. Desko with the redistricting committee, between that committee and this committee, I can't imagine how many hours you sit in meetings. But to the rest of you as well, thank you, because I know this is a crazy time of year, as it is for all of us. As a follow-up question to my, I guess, part A about vaccinations. So on the website, it says that it's a state-mandated DPT, so diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, which is whooping cough. Just so we're clear, my concern is that a student wasn't vaccinated. And if that's the case, it's state mandated that they are to be vaccinated. So I guess my next question would then be, are there exceptions to that? That's all. Thank you.
As far as exceptions, a family may get an exception from a doctor for medical reasons why vaccinations are not healthy for an individual child, or also for religious reasons. They can request an exemption.
Thank you. That's the end of public comment. We'll now look to board comment. Any board comment? There. Go ahead.
Quick poll for the board, and it'll be quick. We're about to start using another section of Holland Middle School over Christmas. If any of the board members are interested, we probably should do another tour, not while you're moving, but maybe early in January. So if there's an interest, we could probably do another Saturday morning tour and take a look for those who want to see what's going on.
All right, that's really, it's an open item when we go to do it, but plan, we'll do it. And we'll make people aware. We are not deliberating anything at that meeting. We are really just observing. But we will still make it a known on the board website that we are going there. So not for deliberation, but for touring.
We have oversight of that, so we should see it.
Just a quick comment to address public comments. So there are a number of outstanding pieces of our capital plan. My understanding of the ad hoc capital planning committee not being chartered now is our focus on redistricting and our capacity. I would suggest we're very aware of the things that we still need to do, and we would stage those after redistricting. Whether that looks like a committee yet to be determined by the board, I would imagine. But on the radar screen.
Very good. With no further public comment, I just want to remind the public about our movement of the meeting from January 3rd to January 11th for the public forum regarding redistricting. The information, as Mrs. O'Grady told me, the information will be available for the public to review in advance of the meeting, the week of the 8th, with the meeting on the 11th. The board then is currently thinking, or have we scheduled the 18th? Are we on the 18th?
I would say that we are tentatively scheduled for the 25th.
Very good. Very good.
For a vote.
For a vote, yeah.
That's where I thought we were doing the 18th comment.
Yes, so the 18th, which is our regularly scheduled board meeting, we will at that point be able to present a final proposed plan after the committee has a chance to meet once again following the public forum
and to
take public comment.
And to hear the comments coming from the 11th meeting.
Exactly.
Very good, very good. So with no other business to transact, we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all. Have a nice
Happy New
holiday.
Year.